All right. Say hi to YouTube. This will be on YouTube later. Greetings and salutations, everybody. Hope you're having yourself a nice day. Like the video, subscribe, hit the bell down so the Ghost of the 13-month series doesn't
And
get you and you can stay
mention
notified. Yes, the delusion stuff will be tomorrow, similar time. Absolutely. So I asked you guys, I made this video a few days ago, I don't remember. But all right, take care. But I asked you guys essentially what your general thoughts on Shinsu was as a power system, how you thought it was utilized. Is it already cooked? Can it get better? Can it improve? Are you somewhere in the middle? It was a conversation because one of my cousins caught up recently. He's been on a webtoon binge. He did like Noblesse, T.O.G., God of High School, Gosu, Unordinary, and I'm forgetting one more that everyone likes. The beginning and the end. Is that what it's called? The beginning and the end. I think it's called something like that. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, but soul leveling, soul leveling. So he's been on a webtoon binge. I would say since like November. So we got around to this, and he was telling me like I think he told me like it's absolutely unsavable, and I was like I think Shinsu could be saved. It's not. It's actually one of the things that I think hasn't fissured and cracked too much. But what's your general opinion of it if you want to chime in as a power magic system?
uh I think it's good. I think general idea is probably what most people in the chat or in the comments said. I think it's really solid. I think the
Mm.
concept is really good.
Solid, good concept. I lost it. Did I lose it?
Something
There you go.
when the execution isn't like fully there. And
Hmm.
I think it's one of those things of like, of course, there's still times, and fuck, I think the execution has been very good looking at others, but there is one specific comment where I know more specifics about it.
Okay.
Because they're comment out. But I just need more.
I hear you. All right. So let's get into this. I think Shinsu is a great power system that is a notch or two below the likes of, okay, I guess Nen. Shinsu needs to capitalize and have more diverse properties and shapes, leading to more unique abilities like Nen. Because we're seeing high rankers resulting to more beams, when the more skilled users should have more unique abilities. Another thing I dislike about Shinsu is the hard cap on regulars. Good power systems most of the time are balanced, and the lack of balance when it comes to irregulars is off putting. Instead of irregulars being superior due to skills, it's simply that their status allows them to rule, which is the point, but strictly in regards to your power system, it sucks. And that has led to the most controversial power scaling into regards to Bam, him jumping multiple tiers in the latest fight with White. I agree. I think the Shinsu I think it gives Shinsu more particular phrases uses. Um, in the irregulars' defense, even without their special privileges, they would also certainly still be far worse than anyone else in the tower, save for the top tower borns like Adori and Looselek. The irregulars not only have the most raw power at their disposal, but they're the most talented warriors in the tower. Jihad and his inhumanely strong body, Ediwan and his three Shinsu qualities, Blossom can manipulate Shinsu as naturally and breathing. I thought you were going to say to accelerate Shinsu. None of these talents seem to be granted to them by their regular status. In my opinion, I believe it's because these talents that it's because of these talents they were able to become irregulars in the first place. I still see why you dislike the special privilege they're granted, though. Hmm. I kind of lost track of Shinsu's power system towards the end of season 2. Fair enough. Cool in theory. Why can't Caliban power up from? Why can Caliban power from explosions? I still don't. I still don't fully understand what happened there. Which is why, like, I was wondering, is there like I said, if I'm a flame user and you hit me with some fire, is that like like RPG? If you hit the enemy with the wrong attack, like I gain HP instead. Like, was that the exact right combination of two Shinsu qualities that resonated with his body? I don't know. It's the only time we've ever seen something that happen. We need to see it happen again, maybe for us to be able to kind of wrap our heads around it. So I hope this is not some weird one-off. But I guess I had somebody make the argument that Liboric gamed the whole thing and did that to power him up on purpose because he's scheming something. I don't know if you believe that though, but
No,
yeah.
because he wouldn't know his attributes, right?
No idea. Plus, I guess you could. To me, him begging for his life in that moment seemed genuine. So I don't know though. So yeah, it has so many unique applications. Are you blind? Rankers use beams on top of their unique abilities because this is a staple. Why wouldn't they? But there are so many effing unique applications on Shinsu. Go and check the effing wiki or reread the manhwa. My gosh, yo, yo, spicy, yo, Chile. Um, no, there are only a few unique applications, especially considering the large number of characters we have seen and know. Why would rankers use beans when they have their superior unique shape and properties? You spent more time crying than listing some. Oh my god. Go to the wiki right now and click Shinsu and you'll realize how vast the power system is. I'm sorry, I enjoyed that. I enjoyed that. I don't even like drama. That was fun. I was spicy. Keep it up. Um, is there anything else I want to comment on? I want to comment on the irregular thing. Do you think the fact that they have this complete system, the system that works completely differently to them than most people in the tower, is inherently a bad thing in an energy system, or do you think that he just mishandled it?
I just think he mishandled it.
That's what I was gonna say. I actually don't inherently think that's a bad thing. You're always gonna have characters in these series who are just naturally more talented or gifted, or because of their bloodline, they can use this sacred holy weapon, whatever the case is. But that doesn't necessarily have to throw the entire system into flux and chaos. So, but yeah.
Like like the simplest thing for me, and I've said this consistently, it's just show us a little bit of their past and what their trajectory was like. Because when you don't give like I guess a
Starting
path or
point.
a means and
Mhm.
the audience can like understand like even like a little bit of how like this process is gonna go, then everything just seems like a fucking Deus Ex Machina. It's like I get he's an irregular, but damn, everything just works out perfectly fine. But if you showed me irregulars doing crazy shit, like Jahar them were also like having like crazy power ups at specific moments of the journey, then okay, the president's at sin. That seems fine. But
Mm.
when we don't like have like a comparison when we know there's 13 irregulars before, it's just like a weird decision.
Yeah, I always think I would say it'd be interesting to see how all their growth rates were in comparison to BAM because I think that will make so many things clear. There's one
Yeah.
I've said this a million times, but there's one opinion in the community that I've never fully understood. I don't know where it comes from. Whereas there's this belief that Mazzino came into the tower as strong as he is. I don't believe
Yeah,
that
that
for a
makes no
second. It
sense.
doesn't make any sense to me. I wonder why. If you want me to argument out of all the irregulars, he came in the strongest, that is not the same argument to me as him coming in with the level of power capability that he had. Who would have taught him how to use Shinsu and the inner workings of the tower and show the throw that speed of light and control and all those things? He would still have to learn those things. Even if he had like, even if it's
Especially
one
because
of
he
those
was a
things
kid. He was a
where he's like,
literal child.
yeah, like even if it's under the circumstance, like I could use myself as an example for this. I was seen as a raw talent that you could mold to be into any player because I was so athletic and I hadn't really like played that much football in that sense. So it's like, well, we could turn him into a center back, a left, a right back, a
Yeah.
winger, striker, whatever, right? So like I could see him coming in
Seven
with
foot
a
nine.
lot of ability,
Yeah.
but someone will still have to teach and hone that. You know what I'm saying? So
It's just weird to me because we see him on the data floor as a kid. Do we really think he hasn't gotten stronger when he became a full as adult?
no, no, man, the Kenbachi gimmick he got weaker. I don't know. I think it's okay. It could be better in my opinion. Okay. I think it's a good power system, but not used very extensively. With Bam as a main character, it could be used so well. I think I agree with that. I'd actually meant to ask that. There's a question I meant to ask you guys. I always thought that they were more skilled than Bam. They were warriors before they came in the tower, and the data floor solidified my belief. That's fair, actually. This, oh damn it. Oh nope, nope, up. I had it. Did it? It's gonna come back to me. It's gonna come back to me. It's gonna come back to me. Maybe not. Okay, if it comes back to me, I'll ask it again.
Was it
Uh,
about Bam or regulars?
I don't even know. I think it's a good
This
sound
is the
system.
comment though. I got things to say about this comment right here.
On Sunrise Sparkle.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, to be
I think there's
fair.
actually some good in here.
Okay, to be fair, it's one of my this is one of my favorite new commenters. To be fair, I think variability in these combat methods is overrated because by the very definition in real life fighting, whether it's swords, bows, martial arts, they always follow a very specific combat methods. You don't actually try to experiment in actual combat, but you read your opponent and pick one of the tried and true tested techniques. Like how in a sword fight, you would spend most of the fight in guard position because otherwise it would be very easy for your opponent to get a strike. One can also see this with Kubera, where Curry doesn't actually use that many different attacks. They usually follow the same pattern no matter who it is. The real issue with TOG Shinshu is exactly the fact that it can do anything, and there wasn't any set hard rules on what types of fighting techniques and combat methods you can apply in a fight. So from the start, it easily devolves into power levels and throwing beams of raw power at each other. Okay, talk to
Okay.
me.
So I agree with their first half, completely disagree with their second half. So I agree with the notion, and I think this is lost on a lot of series of people. They're completely right. You're going like, and this is my thing with One Piece and stuff. When you have power systems that are like very open and there's no limit on who has access to these things, you're gonna like create things that are just very normal and easy for everybody to do. That's just how anything works in a society, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna like basically simplify and simplify and simplify and simplify. So for beams to actually be a staple and used in this context is fine. It's like if we were all firebenders, us using fireballs would arguably be the most common way in which we fight, not people making fire dragons or like shapes of fire swords and stuff. It'd be like most people would just do fireballs. Like, because it's like, why would I spend the extra time and control to make this extra shape if it has no extra benefit for me in a fight? The
Okay.
issue though is they're wrong with the second half because in universe Tower of God actually doesn't operate that way. Because by virtue of their shape and attribute, abilities do become stronger. So if you actually change your ship Shinsu into the shape that you have, if you have a sword, you using your sword would actually be less energy consuming than a beam and more powerful. And the same way if you convert it to your element, the same would be as true as well. So they're actually wrong in this because there's actually in canon universe as to why you would do anything but beams because creating your own personal style towards you based off your attribute and shape only benefits you in the long run and makes you way, way more powerful.
Well said. I like that. Um, yeah, I do want to comment on one other thing here, but okay. No, that's it. I think what you're saying makes sense. Actually, that makes sense to me because I do think
Yeah,
though.
which I respect them for.
Yeah, yeah.
Go
So,
on.
um, the real issue with TOGs is the fact that they could do anything because I think I made the argument that I usually use Taite Kubo as an example for this. Not to say that Bankais are inherently bad or whatever, or Zanpakutos are bad, but from the get go he set two Shikai Bankai initial
Hmm.
second release, and I think that limited him in some ways. Where I've always just said with SIU making Shinsu kind of limitless, he didn't limit himself. I do think it shouldn't be able to do literally all and everything, no matter what, for every character without any drawbacks or, compromises, whatever the case is. I don't think that's the case personally, but I can see why someone has a sentiment. If you don't limit it at all, it's just going to be the end all answer to all things because it could do anything. You know how like sometimes people say
Yeah,
magic. I don't got to explain shit. It's magic. You know, and it's
yeah,
kind of like using that argument. So I actually might start amending my opinion on that because I actually agree with that. I do think no limits is not a good thing. It could have high upper
I've
limits, but
I've heard a
yeah.
good I've heard a good argument or a good style for writing when it's like if you have like soft magic where it's not really explained,
Mhm.
then then conflicts can't be resolved by magic. So like it's like you can have these things that are not explainable. Magic can be wondrous, but don't let that be a way in which you resolve conflicts. It has to be something else. Otherwise, we'll just everything will just seem like bullshit and magic can do whatever. And I'm like,
Yeah,
that makes sense.
yeah, that's fair.
But that's the opposite in Tower of God. Like it's all done by combat. So
I like the contrast between this comment and what Kuro Arts clap back at here, where they're saying it has so many unique, like so many. Look at the list, and after here's like it's really not being used. that in that many situations. Because if I'm being honest, I would argue this: we are finally starting to see more instances of different and more unique applications of Shinsu and like in using it in different ways. But it's still been far and few between, and they're really the exception and not the rule. Something as small as
Yeah.
owl's horny bird turning the whole area black, so you can't use your five sentence senses. I like that. That's dope. That's not something I had really seen before. I guess you could say white noise because white noise when it hits, but you get my point. Where it's like stuff we're starting to get stuff like that, and Hodgin Sung versus I think it's actually Purdy, but I call him P Diddy and Holland, I believe it was. Their fight too, you saw the little bit of strategy and technique, but that's not the rule in Tower of God. That's an exception. So I can't look at that and be like, you see, in this story, it's like that would have to be a consistent thing happening for me to be like, this is something SIU does really do. The same way I always give him credit for being able to capture scale really well by zooming out and showing you how powerful those attacks really are, or how far a punch from Calivan actually pushed Hodge and Sung backwards, even though they're standing on air. He's always been good at that, and he's done it consistently.
Yes. And I don't want to like this kind of goes leaving against my point. Like again, I think Kuro might be unfortunately being like since there's just so many moves that makes everything is different.
Yeah,
But I mean, if we're being realistic, a lot of characters might have different flavored moves, but they all kind of do the same shit, right? Like
it's
majority of the moves that we have is just destroy things.
yeah,
That's not really interesting. As you said, white noise is a completely different ability. It operates so vastly different from every like majority of other abilities that we've seen. Same with as you said with Puri and the horny bird, or even beastification is
Jordan had that
different in a
that
lot of
that that
ways.
that like seal you in that weird forest fur thing, and then he had that like lock
Yeah.
on shot, the little lock on lethal kill shot, like. And then I remember how I always say I like Yama's I call it Shinsu passive ability. If you feel fear towards him, like
Yes.
we're getting that. You're getting more of it. I'm not trying to knock it. Like that's why I'm on. That's why like
Ignition people.
my opinion is like
Yeah.
on the up, but it's not quite there yet.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Those are different. Ignition humans. Those are different. Bam using 5 different type of water moves. One is a water dragon. One is 3 water beams. One is 8 water beams.
One's a
That's
water
not saying.
tornado. It's the
That's
same
not
shit.
really
It's the same
you
shit.
being
Yeah, it's the same
yeah. That's
thing.
not being
Yeah,
you diverse. That's not you being diverse. It's just flavor. Now,
yeah.
luckily, the flavor actually makes power stronger and different, which is a plus. I'm glad he has like in universe changing the shape and stuff and direction and how much flow or like force you put into like
How
in the
much you can
direction of Shinsu
attention?
with
How
the change
you
of
can
power,
pack an
which is
orb?
good.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but
Mm,
but let's be clear, it's not that much different from like other abilities. Like Bam's his main 2 different abilities truly is the reverse and non-reverse because those actually do different shit, and he can like pause people with fast skip and stuff. Like those are really different. But
mm.
Bam has like 20 literal abilities with using water beams. Like
I will say that a lot of these beams are just beams with filters: purple beam, red beam, fire beam, ice beam. You know, like there are still beams though,
yeah,
but yeah. I think it's basic and boring, but it works. It's mostly just beams, not that impressive to be honest. The system itself has a lot of potential, but the execution of the system definitely could be done better. Shout out to Scope. I'm in line with you. It's not bad. It's okay. It could be better and has been improving. Fair enough. Local beer versus the Knack and Dorsey round 2. I mean, it's not. I don't know if that answers anything, but thank you. Mario Cat says it's all right. It's fun, and there are special categories like white dwarves, red, which is anima. That one red hair dude. Thorns are cool. Sachi. Even the lighthouse and REA swords. It gets lost when it's just about beams. Okay. I think one of these are long, right? This one, oh, that's my thoughts are similar to yours. It's a great system, but could be used better. I mentioned this in another video of yours, but I'd love to see SOU make use of the water aspect of Shinsu more because it's called divine water. Perhaps one of the characters could use an attack using cavitation in the bubbles in battle that could fire barrages at an enemy to chip away at an opponent's defense, just as cavitation bubbles do to your bolt propellers in real life. This can also be referred to as void quality, which I think could be pretty cool. Another might be the density of Shinsu in areas to make flying difficult there, similar to how the boats sink when passing over methane bubbles. They could also rapidly increase and decrease the Shinsu density in an area to give opponents the bends. I could see Gustang fighting in a manner like this. I like this. Perhaps a character could rapidly expel Shiji from their body when getting into a fight with a flame user, so the Shinsu heats up and it's evaporated away, but the heat reaches their body. This would create tension, as it would be a technique that couldn't be used for a long time. So you're coming up with like
Put him
different
on the
ideas.
team.
Yeah, we got me and you got to both go with the short I made. Where I said I could fix Tower God. Me and you got to get hired. You can handle the combat. I'll handle the writing. I'll handle everything else.
That's the That's the definition of different. Like those are actually good
Yeah,
ideas.
I like that. I like the void thing too. Like, and some of them, the thing
Yeah.
about it too is a lot of the stuff could be basic things that I've seen a million times that was still like I would still like to see. Because as much as I like
Yes.
Shinsu property conversion, it's just like elements like rocks and fire and yada yada. And of course, their shape like the rock shield and whatnot. But like, if someone had an ability where it's like I can erect this like force field or area where you just can't use Shinsu here. No Shinsu allowed. Like I know Hell Joe something similar, but my point is like just boom. You can only throw hands here. That's it. You can't use Shinsu boost,
Mm-hmm.
reinforcement, none of that. Or like, all right, well, I don't know. That one's already happening. But yeah, like it could be something. It has to be something like completely new. It could be something basic. So it's an infinite void. There you go. Dark change. So yeah. So I think what you said is like a well taken point where it's like I think you can destroy your enemy in different ways, but this is like general, like basic destruction. Like I throw something with force to hit the other thing, hoping it does damage. Not even like the erasure of matter, or like dehydrating your body by
But
removing the moisture. Like there's different ways to destroy somebody, but like with the beams and whatnot, or like hard punches, it's very very samey.
and I think this kind of goes in my problem with most series, where it's like I don't like series in which like main characters have like literally like a H like move, right? Like, why do you have so many fucking moves? For what reason? They all do the same thing. Like most characters in the series probably only need like 4 to 5 moves, and they're honestly fine. You need some aid effect, some one-on-ones, some pinpoint. You're kind of good,
You reminded me of the fact that like
and
Ichigo just
you're
has like
good.
Getsuga Tensho. Naruto has shadow
That's
clones and
all he needs.
every different type of Rasengan power. Luffy just Gomu Gomu knows something. Like it's really not wrong. In a lot of ways, like you're not wrong.
You
it is
don't
like
need
that.
them. And even Luffy has hell of attacks, but he doesn't even need all of them because like he used to do so many more. But now all he does is just pistol and bazooka, really like or Gatling. He doesn't really
Bullet
give
and
me like
pistol always
axe
killed me
or
because I'm like, I personally am a crackhead and I noticed a slight difference, I suppose. But like bullet and pistol is the same goddamn attack, bro.
yeah.
So yeah, it is what it is. But all right. I think Shinsu's a solid power system. My personal nitpick is that I'm not interested in seeing how irregulars use Shinsu. We all know they can do stupid, dumb, crazy things with it. I'm more interested in the average Joe's use, like how tower residents who aren't in the 10 families. Okay, that's fair. I want to see Shinsu's so-called unlimited potential with those who have limited use with it. For instance, I'm more impressed with the Vankel showcase in the last station. The last station. Okay, fine. Then I'm with Trauma Ray in the last arc. Fair. I also want you're the resident Vankel defender. All right, I'm on your ass. No, stop. She's trash, by the way. Also, I want the spells power system to be explored more because I think it's interesting. An interesting monkey wrench in an already power system. Yeah, I think the spells was something I've been wanting to. I think the problem with spells is as much as I want them, I just look BAM as like the ultimate spell nullifier. So I'm just like is he just gonna invalidate any and all spells all the time? But I'm supposed to like, cause like I think Akardi, we saw like the younger Akardi with like gibberish in the data floor. I'd love to see him like summon cool weapons like that. Immaculately bullet stretches more. Actually, when a bullet stretches more and has less of the recoil when he snaps his hand back. Actually, yeah. No, it's not. If you're talking about the potential of it, sure, but you can make that case for most power systems out there. Most systems are not inherently bad or good. It's what you make of it. SIU has made a doo doo of it.
And
Not a doo
I do
doo.
want to,
Not doo doo. A doo doo. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I really, I think this should be like a given, but I can tell most people understand. Just because something has like a lot of rules or is complex or a lot is going on, doesn't by that virtue alone mean it's a good power system. A lot of power systems can be very simple
Simple.
and are used so much better by the author because they actually expand and know how to properly use it. It just still blows out a lot of these over the top systems. And I really wish people understand that. So I feel like certain systems where it's like not a lot's going on, it's a terrible power system because not a lot's going on. That doesn't mean it's bad. Some of them are really, really good. Like
Yeah.
Radiant to me, not a lot goes on like Radiant. Radiant Fantasia is not like a crazy system. It's kind of like low magic, but it's done very, very well. Yeah.
It's execution will always trump the concepts.
Yeah.
Because trust me, there's complex narratives that I've really, really liked, but sometimes the beauty's in the simplicity. You don't gotta be overly complicated. Like I said, for Dragon Ball, Key works. Key's not an overly complicated system. You could do a lot with it, but it works for that story. It's not trying to be overly complicated in that sense. You know,
Yeah.
you gotta care about. You gotta think about the narrative that you're writing too. Scope said the fact that we don't spend time with really anyone besides Bam really limits what we see with Shinsu. If we got to spend more time with other irregulars as they struggle to develop and master their own unique fighting styles, it would allow the system to be better expounded on. I think I can agree with this because as much as we can still make the argument that a lot of Kun Ran's techniques like shock and are blasty. He has a variety of remember that little cloud that he had, then he had the read on pill, then he can make the lightning lance, then he you know what I'm saying? Like
Mm-hmm.
watching I've always said that like Bam and I guess Princess aside or whatever, ran from like a versatility was like the best combatant ready for like climbing the tower. Like he's actually showcased me a lot of different things. Plus he's a good hand to hat combatant and he's not like he is in a lot of ways the least intelligent Kun I would say maybe, but he's not dumb though. But he can't
How
get.
old
But
is
it's
he
I
again?
don't know. I don't know, bro. I have no idea.
I can't remember if he's in the hundreds or if he's like actually like 18.
I don't remember. Couldn't tell you. I want to see whether or not the theory that Shinsu was actually the sweat perspiration of some almighty being in the height. That would be crazy. Ew, ew. Is Shinsu God piss? I gotta know, bro. Just a crackhead theory, lol. That's just a theory, a crackhead theory. Thanks for watching. Um, I think it's amazing, but not expanded or used to its max potential. Fair enough. No, it was good in season one, but now with the beam spam has become irredeemable in your eyes. I actually like the
Irredeemable is
system.
kind
Yeah,
of correct.
I don't think it's irredeemable personally, but I can see why I could see why someone would say that because it's just like well, a lot of people like it's like with me a lot of times, right? When someone has like a like okay, so let's take Tower of God season two, which you guys know I believe the first season was horrible, but someone's like, yeah, but with season two, they'll just give me all this hopium and copium about how it's gonna be good, and I'm like, what the hell is giving you that hope? Is there somebody on that team that you're on the staff that you know that's a really good anime that wasn't there before that's there now? Was there something in a webtoon that I have a webtoon adaptation that I haven't seen that came from one of these companies that did something that I didn't know of that's actually a good adaptation? Because I've argued all the noblest ones are bad, God of High School was bad. They're all bad. None of them are good. Like, what is giving you this hope? That's just blind optimism. That's not moving me. So I get the point. So with this person, I'll be like, what has you been doing recently to give me any hope? I don't believe him. So it's irredeemable. I can understand that thought process. I don't agree with it though. Not for
I
Shinsu
guess that's
specifically.
fair.
So I love the theory was true. Everyone in Torgal would ironically be piss wizard mages. That's kind of funny though. I actually like the system. I'm a similar boat to you. Shinsu is a very interesting concept that influences the way how people and positions overall fight, interact with the role of the tower. They added structure to Shinsu by the measurements of bangs. The Hmong serves area of the soul density and a very nice density. Wait, a very nice addition that sadly wasn't expanded much upon, especially when we hit ranker level. The system works well when it's simple, but it works best when it's used in interesting or creative ways to attain one's goal in or out of combat. Season 3 has indeed gone down in terms of creativity with a bit of research recently, but I do agree the high usage of beams and such is low effort usage of Shinsu. It also doesn't help that the art direction sometimes make said Shinsu beams and blasts a bit hard to follow on what's been going on. I've always been commenting it's been harder to watch to see what's going on clearly these days. A lot of visual noise. I think Scope said. I think you're the one that said that, Scope. Giving you credit. Not that I'm against the idea of simplistic usages, but there needs to be more creative usages in order for it to feel like Shinsu could end up feeling like a very impressive system. Shinsu is an inherently vague system, but has enough structure that its vagueness can be a benefit so long as its horizons are explored and expanded upon. With characters that use creative methods of Shinsu, it shows that Shinsu has a lot of potential while also showing that a character is unique in their abilities and how competent they are amongst other tower denizens. While overall usage of beams has been a bit disappointing, SIU has been spicing it up a bit in certain areas as well. The main examples being the ones that you described in the video. Overall, I'd be hesitant to even suggest that Shinsu as a power system is going downhill, much less being a lost cause. Yeah, I agree with this for the most part. I don't think anything I disagree with. My theory is that it isn't headcanon, that it's headcanon. They believe season two of the manhwa is so good that they will adapt it faithfully.
That's not a reason to believe that. There's plenty
Hey,
because that would mean that any good work would never have a bad adaptation, which just isn't the case.
yeah. So that's not about the source material necessarily. It's with the people interpreting it. Um, I guess transmuting it into a different type of medium, and then being able to do that in a way that's meaningful. Oh, that makes sense. That's good. So I think that's what you gotta kind of ask yourself. Season one was good for what it was, not perfect, but it left some room for backstory. Like we brought up season two, like how SIU had the backstory with Arc Raptor in season three. Downhill. Well, this is the secret. This is the secret sequel video to the curious case of Clown Hellum. I like those arrows, man. Him and Soho were going crazy. 500 plus chapters, and SIU still stuck on beams. Mostly, I don't know how much that is lack of creativity or pure laziness, or just him getting too comfortable in this space. His space. It started out very interesting with the possibilities that it could have been numerous, but now Shinsu is just like any other magic system. Anthony said, when you become a ranker, you climb tower. Do they keep all the base stats? Does the administrator cap them and their items so it comes down to skills activity? Is this why coming from a GF or founding or great family or founding species gives ridiculous buffs because they were born in the tower? They are severely handicapped. Hence, Quant would have taken damage from that fall when he got kunned, but Yuri would never. Yet high rankers turn puss when it comes to the floor of death, but someone like Karaka has only OP moves, so his arsenal on lower floors leaves him capped. Just a wake and bake thought before work. Hmm. Did you follow that?
Uh,
That was kind of
no.
hard. That was kind of hard for me to follow, but more power to you, brother. Um, I've been thinking about this for a while. Tao regards the torch for having an amazing foundation when it comes to world building. Damn it, I actually don't fully agree with that, but I kind of agree with that anyways. But the issue is that its execution doesn't always meet the expectations. With this in mind, the power system has the same issues. Okay, let's talk to me. Early on, we learned that Shinsu is a measurable atmospheric energy source. They have measurable units to explain how a bang is formed and quantified. These measurements were never brought back. A bang has been a consistent measure of Shinsu manipulation ever since the ability is measured in bangs and how much you apply the energy collected of the ability. Then we get an answer to why everyone has different abilities, but is specialized in one. With the introduction to Shinsu property conversion and form shape, we now have an explanation as to why people like the Eon family have a flame attribute, or the code with their lightning. Unfortunately, SA runs into the same issue of not fully fleshing out or setting proper boundaries. A good example is how we'll see. We'll gotta see about this. How Chakra and Naruto have set property convention and then detailed methods for how abilities are able to be used. From how Kenjutsu manipulates chakra in the brain to how certain property conversion interact with one another. Okay, I actually don't disagree with that. Shinsu is close.
You know me. I think Naruto has is. I
Chakra
think Kishimoto.
Chakra
It's
isn't
a,
inherently like an awful energy system in my opinion. I just think that he definitely somewhat to me the adding of the like, oh, you see, it was like the ice and water and wind and this and that. I still think that was something he kind of thought about later than adding three for like lava release or whatever. I'm like, I don't know if that was all planned, but it's not a bad
I
system
think it's
because
one of those things.
I think Nen and that use whatever same I can't remember what it's called. There's something in some one of the Japanese folklore or something traditions, but they use that model together. Go ahead, sorry.
Oh, like that five, like
I
not
can't.
circle, but like
You know
I
what I'm
know what you
talking about though.
mean.
I literally don't remember what
Yeah.
it's called because I even think Allomancy took a little bit from that. But go ahead.
No, I was gonna say yeah. Of course I think he had most of the ideas down early on, but I can't remember which between him and Kishimoto which of them literally like put like brought in like their pilot or whatever they did, and then they got the show like the thing from like Viv where it's like or not Viv, I'm sorry, but Shonen Jump like, yeah, we're gonna make your thing a manga, and they like didn't like literally had no preparation, so they didn't think they would get it. I can't remember if that was them, which one of them was that, but I do think like I've said this. I talked about this in the Naruto stream we did, but Kishimoto understood his power system the best out of the big three, and I don't think it's close. I think he did the most with his out of the big three as well.
Yeah.
Does that mean it's perfect? No. Are
Or
there issues? Yes. Was like especially pertaining to things like Lucia's and like the overpowering and consistent adding of abilities? Absolutely. But from a baseline of like the rules of how chakra works and how jutsus work and how these things interact with each other is pretty like easily understandable by the audience.
I think I don't think I disagree with that. But I've never actually like Chakra was not my problem with Naruto. So like
Yes.
that makes sense.
It was the writing.
It was other things. Did y'all know Kishimoto had a twin brother who did manga? I know he has a brother.
Yes.
I didn't know he was his twin brother. He did a manga called like
Six six
Satan
six
six six
Satan.
six. There we go. Yeah. So yeah,
Or Old Parts Hunter if you want to. Very good.
yeah.
I like that series. It's pretty good.
But no,
I think it got axed.
I didn't know
But
that was his twin brother though. I didn't know that. I didn't know that part.
yep.
So, but all right. Shinsu is closer to a soft power system. How does wait? Yeah, soft power system. How it doesn't matter. Like how Harry Potter magic can accomplish anything without set limitation. Is this is different from a example where Naruto we know what it can and can't do and why it has limits. So we're talking about hard versus magic, hard versus soft, and I have a middle one. Shinsu is somewhere in the middle, and while it works, it can be done sometimes it misses its mark. We know excuse me, how form and property, excuse me, affects how people use the Shinsu. We also know genetics, lineage do play a huge part in potential and affinities, but where it fails is where it doesn't explain when it would benefit from an explanation. Okay. Okay. For a world as big as a tower, it makes sense for the system would benefit from a softer system. Agreed. We don't have to know how every ability works and why certain people are to exist. The layout of the tower is an explanation. Is explanation enough? There are too many races living in separate dimensional spaces, all mixing to climb the tower. So it's okay for the abilities to be a bit random. But here's the problem: you only spend time with a select group of people and they don't interact much outside their group. We actively we are actively learning beside Bam and Co how their abilities work and why they can do what they can do. This is where a harder system should be set, where what they can do isn't fleshed out. It should be for how much they have learned and for how much we've seen from them. We call Naruto a one trick pony, but Bam uses a bunch of random abilities that tend to ignore the technique styles we've seen him to use to spam beams. We don't see Hot struggling with his sword on higher floors, and Shibisu is still climbing as if he's unaffected by the density. The only characters with consistent abilities are Dorsey, Elaine, Ran, and Rack. Even Rachel have set abilities she uses faithfully. What bothers me is that we see the lethal style of this or the transcendental skill, but I can confidently say at this point they will never be seen again or be used as a legitimate part of anyone's moveset. I think that's all well said, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah, on the mark. I never got enough of the Naruto enough to understand the magic system. Only edgy teens like Naruto melodramatic writing. Fair enough. They said, "Wow, small world." Yeah, I never finished. I never got far into that Satan 6 whatever devil whatever. But I'm known about it. I remember giving
You
it a
can definitely
shot.
see like
But
the similarities between it and Naruto in some regards.
mm, but yeah. Um, I like what you said about Sure, I'm sure I can find it. Sorry, one real quick. We're like, yeah, it's true that we're learning with Bam and Co and whatnot, but it would be nice to see like we know Shinsu density is a thing, and it doesn't seem like it's affecting anybody in any meaningful way. No one's made a comment about it or in their head, or it's getting harder to move or anything of the sort. Where it's like, I say those little small comments and moments sprinkled out throughout the series tend to go a long way. We could use a lot more of
Hmm.
that, a lot more of that and stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, and Shibisu is not supposed to be a powerful combatant. He uses his mind, and he seems to be like perfectly okay. So yeah. Shinsu is a great effing magic system. Anyone who tells you otherwise is a joke, man. All right, fair enough. Fair and straight to the point.
Solid.
I think Shinsu overall is really good. It sits in a good middle ground between more convoluted stuff like Nen. Is Nen convoluted? I don't think Nen is convoluted.
I don't either.
I would I would look you. I could not look you in the eye and tell you I understand Nen Beast, but that's not because it's complicated. It's because I don't care and I stop reading.
I
Not because
I, I wonder. Oh, sorry.
no. Go ahead.
I was gonna say. I wonder this. You might agree with me. I wonder if people are confusing specific, like just really long abilities with the actual system itself. And that's not
Like
to
like
say it's not a part of the
like
system, but like,
Knuckles, like bank system. I can understand that maybe throwing you for a loop, especially if you don't really understand like I guess overdrafting and interest rates and stuff like that. Like that, like I can get that one specific instance could confuse you. I get, you know.
yeah, or like maybe people are like Crollo has so many abilities it's hard to keep track. But there's a distinct difference between like one person's individual ability versus the actual system of Nin. The actual system of Nin isn't that hard to understand.
Yeah.
Even like when you look at like the subset powers, I forget the names, and when you put it in your eye or you have your space in and stuff like that, like those things aren't hard. Okay, and it's just combinations between these things. Like it's just certain people may have just really really long abilities, and even then, I can understand like why people get sometimes confused. I think it's just sometimes authors just write too much when they explain ability. Sometimes that makes you
They over
more
explain it and
confused.
it's actually a bad
Yes.
explanation of it. That's on them. We often talk about this is actually a lot more simple than it is. Why did you explain it like this? We say it all the time.
Yeah.
I would much rather watch. Sorry, I would much rather Bam spam the floral butterfly pigeon technique. It looks right every time. To be fair, do you know what? To why we know? Do we why? Nah, wait. Do we know how Shinsu works with souls? Does it work the same with an administrator, or is that unique to Bam and White? I think that's a good question. I think the reason why I think currently it's unique to Batman White because White learned a spell or a
I
technique that
think he
allows him to do that in conjunction with his like siblings or whatnot. If I remember that correctly, or maybe I'm not remembering that correctly,
he got it from
but
the book, right?
yeah, but Bam is like a devourer naturally. Like he seems to be able to just pull things into himself. So maybe he has a natural inclination to do this. But
Hecka.
conversely, you could just say Bam saw it and he can copy it. I guess. Bam's a copycat. And then Albeida gave him the soul force. So he had souls to burn. Maybe the problem is this tech this technique is seen as maybe evil and effed up. So you have to like kill people and take their souls into you first of all. And I don't know if that causes like a. I think I wanted to say maybe it causes a resentment because there was that weird part where you could see them all climbing away from Batman as he was using it. There's a couple of reasons you could come up with, but I do think that's a fair question to ask though. Like, could anybody learn that if they had the book? Could Aguero do that? Could Rack do that?
I think
Could
so.
fucking Hansung you do that? You know?
I think so.
So
I think so.
okay,
I think so. I think it. I think it's just like, because I feel like spells are one of those like power system like in this. It's one of those power system things of like anybody can do it. It just takes dedication and time.
yeah. So, but yeah, sorry. So let's get back to this Lazaro. Um, I think Shinju's overall really good. It sits in a good middle ground between more convoluted stuff like Nan and a more simple power systems, and I mean that in a good way. I also like that the power is based on the user, but not like Nan that you can sort of decide what your power is. I think it ties to the character development in an interesting way to probably use Shinsu at least as an irregular. You have to understand yourself, not what you think you are, but what you actually are. A good non-irregular example of this is Kun with his Shinsu shape being a spear. In fact, the entire concept of your Shinsu properties and your limit for using Shinsu being set by birth is really fits thematically too, which is great. Since you can train hard, but there is a ceiling you will hit eventually without additional external intervention like canine transformation, jihad blood, etc. You can't push back. You can't just push past that. And even within that, you still hard locked by your innate Shinsu limit. Okay. Shinsu being a purely external energy source alone, I think makes it a lot more interesting to me that our regulars have the ability to achieve control of all of the Shinsu in the area, almost like like sub admins is fascinating. Even beyond being able to overpower you, the regulars can negate your Shinsu itself. The only person we've seen do that really though is Hell Joe. Like stop people
Yeah.
from being able to use it, and even somehow worked on a wreck, which I never really fully understood. Soul Force, Ghost Rider would bam and white up.
The way I took it was just like I guess actually no, that wouldn't make sense. I was gonna say the floor just had an absence of Shinsu since there
Mm.
wasn't any to control, but that actually doesn't even make
The
sense
Floor of
because
Death
like
is already kind of weird, so I understand that it's different.
yeah
But I guess Bam's had the Thorn. I don't know. I do think you're right. Despite external Shinsu attacks often being beings with no other properties, there are a lot of things like the Kina transformations that use Shinsu that a lot of times we overlook. Look at just on Caliban and Shaw examples. They're all pure martial artists and fishermen, but they use Shinsu differently. Caliban's a much more Western, striking boxing style, and he literally makes punches explode with his Shinsu property at the end, making his blows really destructive. Jinx has a very mystical Eastern style of fighting, which he often doesn't rely on striking, but making contact with his opponent to control their Shinsu flow. Sha kind of strikes a balance between the two and maybe is sort of a kickboxer or Muay Thai or something, but he also has fairly strictly used Shinsu for either boosting himself or for purely rage attacks otherwise. He was sending those punches, I remember. I'm really looking forward to seeing more of the irregulars use Shinsu though. Blossom and Tupuri especially, I think they're going to be able to do some wild-ish. Fair enough. Um, now that you explain it, it sounds stupid. Esther needs to explain what's the difference between magic and Shinsu unless magic is related to access members or outside of the tower. Man, you got a lot to he got a lot to explain. He really
I
does.
think spells were just like depending on how he does it, it literally just might be like like the most apt comparison is like Goshu, right? Like they came from a world like Goshu where like you have martial arts and ki. Like sometimes people have like they're like spellcasters, they use talismans or mediums of spells to like do shit. That's like something I could see like Jihad and them came from, and they came into Shinsu. Like that makes the most sense to me because they had swords, arrows, spells, and stuff. That's like what I see.
Yeah.
They came from like Miriam, like a martial arts world or something.
Oh, we got one more comment. It's a good thing I refreshed it. We got one more comment. Okay, the question is, what is Shinsu? Is it is the space and Shinsu the same and also being matter at the same time? I remember Jihad explains flow explosion to Bam and he said you could control Shinsu in every in everything, as if everything in the tower is made of Shinsu, even the space itself, according to how Shinwan Ryu works. I don't exactly understand what Shinsu is. Hmm. You might be
Yeah, I
doing
guess.
you might no, but you might be doing the thing where like you overthink one explanation of it, and you're letting it trickle down and affect all the other uses you've seen to it. Whereas I don't think Shinsu is particularly hard to understand. I think it's a phenomenon in energy and matter within that world that could be used to construct things like the sky and the air around us that we breathe or whatever, but it could also be used to hurt, wound, and heal and create. Like it's just that it's kind of like how I almost want to say Mora, but like I don't actually know too much about Genshin, and then my lore might be off. Where Mora is a money currency, but also has weird transformative properties with it, where it's like an end all be all. You can do whatever it is you need to do with it. Now, if you're asking literally specifically, like is Shinsu literally like a divine water in the tower that gets manipulated in different ways? Then I guess yeah, that makes sense to me. Like quite at its most literal sense, like I could still tell you, I guess hockey is like willpower. Does that make you know what I'm saying? Is it, that make,
Yeah,
am I making sense? I don't think I'm making
I
sense.
think so. Yeah, I think so.
Okay. I think Shinsu is good for the foundation. I think seeing it used more would be better. TOG is a mix between hard and magic style system like Avatar: The Last Airbender. It has a good rules that are consistent, but has room to. Do I agree with that for Avatar? Somewhere in the middle. I guess I'll come back to that. Sorry,
Wait,
my mind went crazy for a second. Let me focus and change the transform to better system. I think learning more about how it works and why it works would be really good. I think SLU missed a good opportunity in season one, early season two, to explain where it came from. I know it came from, it didn't come from Gustang. Gustang noticed it and was able to quantifiably record that there's some shit around us. That's how I understood it. Not that he created Shinsu, right? Am I off on that?
yeah, he recorded. He didn't create it. It
Yeah.
existed before him.
Yeah, exactly. But it would be cool if we got more backstory from him. We don't even really know that much about him. I think SLU should go into the 10 great families and stories, backstories into the next arc, and that's the last comment.
Uh, what was I about to say?
Was it about Avatar being a
Yeah, I mean,
hard magic system?
yeah. Well, most I don't. Every single magic system operates on a spectrum between hard and soft. I really don't know if I can think of one that's only hard or only soft. But I mean, most are usually probably going to lean more hard. But yeah, Avatar. I think they said it's just a pure mix between it. But I mean,
Mm.
I think it. No, he said TOG is a mix and a soft mat between. Oh, he's no. Yeah, he said Avatar's both. I think Avatar's a lot more on the hard side for sure.
I think so. The way that I see, obviously, I understand these concepts are more like placeholders and whatnot. Like I understand it. Like I get, like I'd rather just kind of explain the inner workings of it, and you can decide for yourself where it's like. But like we have the four elements, and it usually gives you access to like sub elements that relate to that power and whatnot. And if
Mm-hmm.
you don't have a way to create and manipulate it with the natural environment around you, you can't do it. So like it has rules. What I find a lot of the times what I do is like I'll say like, hey, this system is softer more than it is harder. Pause. Or it's harder more than it is softer. No pause. Right. So like
Yeah.
that's kind of how I
Yeah.
like to do it more often than not. These days, in hindsight, I didn't used to do it all. This is a pretty recent thing. It's not something I used to do my whole life. So like I'll tell you like because generally speaking, it's the more rules and limitations and caps you have, or you have to like do certain prerequisites to get certain things. That's going to be harder. But the more loose and free it is, generally it's softer. So
Yeah, and I think sometimes people think of things because they'll say things like nin and stuff. So when they don't have something that has like a lot of like a long list of rules, they think it by nature it's softer, but that's not true. Like with Avatar, even though it's not like oh, there's all these things just like the elements, but I mean they are, as you said, it's pretty like hard and paced. If you're not the Avatar, you have one element. Like you can only do things within your element. It's just as simple as that, and everything else just comes from general training, which I guess you could say is like maybe a little bit on the softer side because of like how much you can do to what degree and stuff.
mm.
But that's just training. But I mean, it's like Qatar. There's no rule in Qatar goes out and like randomly learns firebending. That's impossible. Like she's unfortunately set by birth of what she can do, and avatars can do more. But what avatars can do is well understood by like the audience.
Exactly. SIU would definitely wait. I think Shinsu is like Key from DBZ, but a bit but more complex. You're not the first person to say that to me, and I understand where you're coming from. SIU would definitely fully explain
Interesting.
his power system when Phantom Minim comes back in the story. What is one niche power system you have a complete understanding of? Mine is the power system of Overgeared.
I have quite a
Hmm.
few. Oh, you said niche though. Uh, Niche power system.
I think that if I think I might have I think that if I had to like do a presentation on allomancy, I think I'd knock it out the park. It's probably what I could think of.
I think I could do
Yay!
drafting
Zodiac.
from
Peace,
Lightbringer.
peace.
I think I could do drafting from Lightbringer. I think I
Mhm.
can do pretty well on that.
Um, I could probably explain how Ether and Ether Flow worked in Xenoblade Chronicles really well. Um, I still would argue that I probably understand the light and darkness and how keyblades and stuff work in Kingdom Hearts. If that's the like, what's the magic? I suppose though they just have general magic though.
And you got that.
But
Yay!
I used to always do that. That's
Oni-chan,
why.
peace, peace.
Shout out to the Gold Zodiac. Yes, we shouldn't have to wait. Sorry, we shouldn't have to wait for strong opponents to see unique Shinsu abilities. Often the weak have to find crafty and cunning means to move up the tower. We just don't see many traditional floor tests anymore since we jumped so high in power level. And it's always slightly
I
disappointing.
agree.
I also think it's also slightly disappointing where like a lot of the times these are rankers, higher rankers, and advanced rankers reacting to different techniques, and they're like, "What the hell is that?" And if they're the ones who are supposed to be completing it, and they're reacting like that, it almost doesn't give me hope that there will be many of them who are like, "Oh, I've seen that before. I know what that is. I can deal with that." They'll be like, "I don't know what that is. How do I deal with that?" So
Even if it's like something I haven't seen, I feel like your experience would at least like help make you extremely quick on the uptake. Like, okay, I've seen something close to this 300 years ago.
mm,
You know,
Patreon gang. Shout out to the Patreon gang. Yes, sir. Shout out to my certified BAM lovers. I appreciate y'all deeply. Gotta give a big shout out to the Priest of Fire. That's the real CBL Brilliant gang. You already know what it is, but especially gonna give a huge thank you to my tier threes, the fifth Zen Gods. Shout out to Zodiac, Sonny Katapali, Simi, Silo, Shoddy to your body, Scobe, Revenant, Lucky Roo, Lazy Dragon, Chris, Johnny Rogers, Jacob Holland, Irene Sharda, Fitz, Tris, and my boy Abdel. Your support is greatly appreciated. Thank you.